Hi again, everybody, and welcome back to Leading Edge. My name is Tim Schneider, and I am the founding partner of Aegis Learning. We're continuing our view today of high-performing teams and teamwork with commitment. We just wrapped up a two-part series on how to deal with conflict, which probably wasn't a ton of fun to talk about. But today we're going to talk about commitment, because commitment is an important team dynamic. We all know the folks that, go through the motions. They, clock in, clock out, punch in, punch out, and they're never truly committed. And I hope today that we can cover a couple of big pieces associated with it. Now, I've seen a lot of work and done a lot of research on the varying things that go into a commitment. And, each and every one of those is correct and right. I mean, things like rewards and recognition and, environment and, even things like ergonomics in the office. But we're going to focus on really two big concepts related to commitment. One of those is input and buy-in, and we're going to refer to those together. They're very closely related, and I'll show you how in just a moment. And then the other one we're going to talk about is challenge, which is kind of a unique team leader dynamic. And it also relates to Tuckman's model a bit, from moving from that third stage of norming into true performing. So let's talk first about input. I have, literally in 25 years of doing this, I have seen probably close to 100 times where organizations and senior leaders express frustration that they've crafted a beautiful vision and a beautiful mission and great purpose and great values, and still their team or teams are not getting their arms around it. They're not rallying around it. They're not becoming crusaders. They're still employees. And, the bottom line is, unless those team members had a hand, had a voice, and had input, they're never going to fully embrace them and be team warriors and team crusaders. They're always going to be looking at it as, yeah, that came from somebody else. That came from up on high. They told us that this is what we had to do. So the bottom line, if you really want a committed team, take everything that you've done related to your mission, your vision, your purpose, your core values, and I'm not telling you to throw it away, but give your team some input. Let them talk about it. Let them craft their own. Let them, and I'm not taking away, if you're a leader, and many of you are that are watching this, not taking away your ability to veto that or change that or have your own input, but you certainly want to get their voices heard too. Let them come to the table and say, here's what we want to be. Here's the direction that we want to go. Here are the values that we can actually embrace and support. Amazing dynamic. And this is rooted in psychology. It's rooted in behavioral science. It's rooted in emotional intelligence. And that is that when somebody believes it's theirs, his or hers, much, much more likely to support it, much, much more likely to rally around it than if they're looking at it as it was prescribed to them or dictated to them. So give your team input and voice into those key dynamics of mission and vision and purpose and values. That'll buy a big chunk of commitment for you. Now, the other one is an interesting dynamic, and again, for years, I've had pushback on this particular piece, and that is leadership challenge. And what I mean by leadership challenge is part of the role of leadership is to continue using encouragement, not belittling or anything like that, but using encouragement to get their team to perform at higher and higher levels. This challenge then, as issued by a leader, becomes kind of a rally point for everybody on the team. They get together. They have a common purpose that the leader challenged them or challenged each of them individually to perform incrementally just a little bit higher. Now, the opposite of that is something that unfortunately we see a lot, and that is that complacency. We're meeting standards, so it's okay. And the leader says thank you, maybe even praises them, maybe even provides really good formatted positive feedback, but never challenges an increment more. So I'm going to ask you, those of you that are leaders, I'm going to ask you to think about, is it enough to just let last month be last month, or do we need a little bit more? Do we want a little bit extra from every team member? And then collectively, do we want a little bit more from every team, from the team in its entirety? And the answer is yes. And you know what? Here's where one of those points I'm going to ask you to refer to sports teams. Because every sports team is in a process of continuous improvement. Yes, they won the game last month. Yes, they won the game yesterday. Yes, they made the playoffs. But incrementally, do they want to continue to get better? And the answer to that is yes, of course. Now bring that same skill set, again, as challenged by the coach and challenged by the leader, bring that same skill set into the working environment. Guys, I hope you have an outstanding week. I look forward to our next installment of Leading Edge and talking with you and being with you again.